Pace explains, Pace explains, out of her mouth and into your brains.
Hi, I'm Pace, and today I'm going to explain unschooling. Kylie and I unschool our son, Drew. Hello, Drew. Say hi to the internet.
Hello.
Thank you. Unschooling is like homeschooling, but without a curriculum. The idea is that kids love to learn, and if you don't beat it out of them, then they'll learn. One of the main worries about unschooling is how is my kid going to get socialization? Are they going to turn into an antisocial loser or just a loner who doesn't hang out with any other kids? And that's a good concern. You have to take it into your own hands since you can't just ship them off to a big box full of other kids every day unless you create that box yourself. We're members of an unschooling co-op, and there are a whole bunch of other unschooled kids and some homeschooled kids that Drew gets to learn and play with once a week, and that's good. We have play dates with other kids that we know, and we set those up. So it's definitely a concern, but it's a solvable problem. Another big objection is, what if I'm not smart enough? I don't have a degree in teaching. I don't know anything about child psychology. What qualifies me to teach my kid? And really, up until you get to some high school and college, there's nothing that you can't teach just perfectly fine. I'm not dissing teachers. They have useful skills that are good to know, but if you don't know the answer to something that your kid is curious to learn, you can just say, I don't know. How about we learn that together? And then Google it or, whatever you would do to learn it yourself. And that is really empowering because you're also teaching your kid how to learn in addition to teaching whatever it was they were curious about. Unschooling is illegal in some places. In Texas, it's actually legal for a hilarious reason because the religious right, all the fundamentalist conservative Christians, got the legislature to allow any sort of homeschooling whatsoever. You don't need to pass any tests. You don't need to fill out any forms. You just say, I'm doing whatever I want. And they got this law passed, so all the freaky people who want to do their weird unschooling stuff also get a free pass too. It varies from state to state. I'm not sure what the laws are outside of the United States, but there is a website, I think it's unschooling.org, that has all that information. Really, even if your kid doesn't learn anything from unschooling, it's almost worth it just to keep them out of public school because public school really, really sucks. It doesn't really teach kids to learn. It beats the love of learning out of them, and it teaches them to obey and to conform. This is obviously something that I'm going to have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about, so I won't dwell on it too long. Another thing is that really, what do you remember of what you learned in public school? I would wager that you probably forgot about 90% of it, so the bar that unschooling has to live up to is not really that high. Even if your kid learns only 10% what they would have learned if they were in public school, they're still doing better because they're not getting all that indoctrination. And they haven't had the love of learning beaten out of them. And I think that's really important. So the way that Drew actually learns, there's two ways. He learns accidentally and intentionally. Accidental learning is just the kind of learning that you pick up from doing what you love. You're just doing what you want to do anyway. After Drew learned to read, he really started getting into the habit of it and practicing from playing the Pokemon video games. And his reading speed increased when we started watching a lot of anime because we watch it subtitles, and he had to start practicing to read faster so he could keep up with what's going on in the plot. Another example is, I think he learned the metric system from Katamari Damacy. It's like, you'll be surprised what you can learn from random things like video games and just things you happen across in your everyday life. And the other way that we teach Drew is intentionally. We have a learning night once a night where we explicitly sit down and do something educational. It's usually also fun, like we'll watch Cosmos with Carl Sagan, Mythbusters, and there are teachable moments, Like in Mythbusters, if I think, I think that was actually pretty bad science because we didn't have a control group there or something like that, then we'll pause and we'll talk about it and we'll go off on whatever interesting tangents we want. And we do that through all of life. You just make that a priority to take advantage of those teachable moments. And as you know, I love explaining things, so it's perfect for me. Another technique is strewing, which is leaving interesting things around. And if there are interesting things around, then your kids will probably get interested in them. Also, you can just loudly do interesting things. If you're doing something that you'd like to share with your kid, talk about it. Just talk about it out loud when they're around, and maybe they'll get interested in it too. Kids love to do what their parents are doing, and if you can include them, then you get to share that and you can learn things together. It's really neat. I think ultimately, though, the proof is in the pudding. And I've known a lot of kids, and unschooled kids just rock. They'll look you in the eye and tell you what they really think because they haven't been trained to be afraid of authority. They're brilliant and creative. Tons of them, I forget the actual percentage, go on to college. A lot of them go on to become entrepreneurs. It's really impressive. All the unschooled kids that I've known make me proud to be an unschooler. Let me know what you'd like me to explain next time.
Pace explains, out of her mouth and into your brains.